Please welcome Becca Keating.
Thanks so much. It's so great to be among like-minded women and men. And you know, we're one of those few clubs, women clubs, that love and respect men. So thank you for being here today as well. Yay. You guys are awesome. And what a beautiful setting. I want to come back. This is great. Somebody said, so what are you going to do while you're here? It's like, okay, well, what are my choices? Let's find out. Thank you for your suggestions here. She's just going to send me on a shopping spree. That's after I sell all my books, right? I did find out that, since we're among men and women, that there is a difference between men and women. I don't know if you knew that or not, but one of the ways I found out was in their diet. Yeah. Women, they go on a diet when they can't fit into their tightest skinny jeans. Men, on the other hand, they go on a diet when they can't fit into their car. Yeah, that's what I found out. Is that true? No, we're just kidding. The other thing I found out that men and women communicate very differently. And the natural conclusion, of course, is that women are better communicators because we do more of it. That's talk, that is, we just talk and talk and talk, you know. But the truth of the matter is that men and women can actually improve their communication skills and become very effective in their skills, especially when it comes to confronting those bullies. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. In my book, The Secrets of Powerful Communication, Confronting the Bully Within, I talk about the power of words. You can probably imagine the words that have been spoken to you in your lifetime. We can use those words to encourage, to compliment. Or we can use those words that cut like a knife, right? Yeah. Or that can bring us grief. Well, we've been informed by those in academia and in the media and with some politicians and maybe some elitists that there are certain words that we're not supposed to use. And so we're gonna talk a little bit about those politically correct words that we're not supposed to use. It kind of makes it inconvenient, doesn't it? You know, to carry out a conversation and then realize, oops, I shouldn't have said that. You know, when I first came to California, it was mainly, I used to live in Arizona for a long time. And I moved over here because my daughters were going to college and grad school. And it was so great to meet their friends, and they're just so energized and everything. I loved it. And there was one particular girl that I just thought was so cute. And so I said to my daughter, I really like that Oriental girl that you introduced me to. And she said, Mother, you can't say that. She's Asian. I said, okay, I'm sorry, I'm missing something. I didn't get the memo. This was like 7 years ago. I didn't know. I didn't know. And so they began to inform me. Well, as you know, there are other entities in our environment that have been trying to inform us. I'd like to interject some words of wisdom from an ancient king named Solomon. And he said, there is one who speaks rashly, like a thrust of the sword by the tongue. But the wise bring healing. I want you to grab onto that. I want you to remember the wise bring healing. So today we're going to talk about political correctness. And you all know what that means. So first I said PC and they thought I was talking about the computer. And did you ever wonder why is it called political? Did you ever wonder why? Why is that called political? Well, it seems there are some successful tools used by certain political ideologies. Can you guess which ones? Yeah. Socialism, Marxism, communism, as well as a particular religious ideology with very strict laws which are devised to control the masses, even by the threat of the sword. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, well, when was it? In May, Dr. Ben Carson spoke, yes, at the presidential prayer breakfast, and he mentioned a couple of insightful words from that King Solomon. He spoke about political correctness muzzling the public. And he said it not only muzzles the public, which then stifles discussion and dialogue. And to have healthy discussion without worrying about being called a racist or a homophobe would be really, really helpful to improve the challenges we face as a nation, as a state, and as a community. If we are not muzzled, we could have discussions to encourage innovation and to provide invention and to challenge exploration and broaden our intellectual think tanks and to come up with some resolve on a very important issues regarding our national security. In fact, if we could get rid of this political correctness, our freedom of speech might return. Have you thought about that? What we're losing. We are losing our ability to freely connect, communicate, and resolve and innovate. Things that are so important to us. So what are some of those words that we're not supposed to say? Oh, that's right, we're not supposed to say it. All right. Yeah, that's right. I forgot. But you know, those words are now labeled hate speech. And we have these hate crimes because of words that we've said. Scary, isn't it? Man. All those words that are what we now call hate speech move us to being labeled as the racist, the bigot, the homophobe, the Islamophobe. You know, it goes on and on and on and on. And if we're not arrested for those certain things, we've been put to shame. And if not put to shame, we might lose our job on national television by a network that has supported us for a long time. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. We'll come back to that in a minute. In fact, we'll re-dialogue that one. There's a man named Jamie Glazov of the David Horowitz Front Page magazine, a good friend, and had fun with him on the Glazov game, said that political correctness hides the truth. It deceives the public. It prevents freedom of speech. And how ironic is that? Because we are the individuals with truth. We are the individuals who want to be upfront and honest. And yet we're cast as doubt. You can't believe them. They're Republicans. You can't believe them. They don't know what they're talking about, right? We are the ones who give opportunity of freedom to share one's thoughts and ideas, and to not be pegged as narrow. I mean, I'm narrow now that I have this opinion. I think they call it convictions, don't they? Yeah. So we may disagree, and we may stand up for what we believe, and let's continue to do so. And yet we will not degrade the thinking of others that might be different, because then we would be like them, wouldn't we? We would be like them. In fact, there are some that if you do think differently and you speak against them, you can be subject to execution. And I'm speaking about the rules of Sharia law that has infiltrated some of our communities here in the United States. And I was on a side story, I was in the Phoenix airport one day, and a soldier was coming home from Afghanistan, and they had a big turnout of police and fire and all kinds of people like that because his parents were there. That's the businesses they were in. The parents were police. And there was a SWAT team there, all dressed up in their boots and all that, protective clothing they wear. And I pulled one aside and I said, I got a question for you. Tell me, when are we going to start profiling? And you would have thought I said I had a machine gun under my belt. He went, oh, well, we can't, what, I don't know what a terrorist looks like. How are we going to do that? I said, well, let me see. Of the guys that flew their planes into the Trade Center 9/11, how many of them were of Middle Eastern descent? Of those that did, X, Y, and Z, how many of them were Muslim? It just was on and on and on and on, and he looked at me like, oh, I don't think we can do that. And I thought, when are we going to wake up? When are we going to stand our ground and not worry about being politically correct? Men and women, we need to stand firm. We need to be wise and know who our enemy is. And if we are muzzled in our speech, it cuts us off. It's a very dangerous thing, and yet, as I alluded to earlier, is part of the strategy. Because if they can keep us quiet, if they can keep us from discussing the issues, in fact, if they can make us look really silly and stupid and Islamophobe, or homophobe, or it's not good. So, we who have a conscience seem to be bothered by all of this. When we're called racists or bigots, what happens? Oh, I'm so sorry, not me. I'm not a racist, I really am not. And so we back off, don't we? Do we not? Do we? Okay, maybe you guys don't. You guys are great. Okay, and you keep up the good work. But we tend to back off. We tend to apologize. We tend to cower and feel embarrassed. Why? Because we have a conscience. We are the ones that want to do what's right. Right? Are we right? Am I right? Yep. And we tend to shut down and often apologize, don't we? Does any one of these ones that are apologizing come to mind? Well, let me go back to that one. Of a woman. Let's pretend it's me. I love to cook. I do cookbooks. I'm pretending. And I have a show. In fact, I've had a successful show on television for quite a while, and I teach people how to cook, and I laugh, and I have fun, and I'm doing a really good job. And then, and I don't have all the details, maybe you do, but something happened 30 years ago that was brought up to my people that I work with, and they said, you've got to fix this. You've got to apologize. Okay, and she did. But let's redo that one. Back up, do it again. What if she said, network, you're right. I may have said that 30 years ago, but that's 30 years ago, and I'm not that same person today. What if she said, network, you're going to crumble to this, and you've worked with me for how long? You know who I am. You know what I stand for. And you're going to crumble to that? Come on, you're better than that. You're bigger than that. You're stronger than that. You're a network that supports those women that know how to cook. What do you think? Okay, you try. It's your turn. What would you say? Do you get the picture? We are so polite. We are so wanting to do what's right. And yet, it's muzzling us. According to, get this, the government has a website now called stopbullying.gov. So I looked it up. And it says, bullying is a result of perceived power imbalance. Okay, let's break that down. Perception, perceived. The perception is how one looks at things according to what they've learned and been told or have observed. It's how we view life. Wait, there's a TV show, The View. Oh, that's right, yeah. And is that filled with interesting propaganda? What did I say that? And then there's power. Power is that which is placed over us to control us, to manipulate us. Being stronger than the other in order to dominate. And then there's imbalance. That which is obviously not in balance. It's warped. Some could say it's tilting a little bit too much to the left. Yeah. Well, and so does anybody come to mind when you think of perceived power imbalance? Can you think of anybody in Washington, D.C.? Yeah, you're getting the picture. With the perceived power imbalance. Do you know anybody in the media who interprets the news instead of just reports the news? Yeah, that's a little bit of power. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And can you think of any groups that would exhibit power perceived and imbalanced? Okay, remember this is what the government website says. I thought that was just very interesting. Not that we shouldn't address those issues. It's the PC part that we want to bring in today. So according to the website, the bully needs an audience. And who tries to get an audience about every other day on television and says, I have another speech for you? Most bullying occurs around a crowd so that they know who's the boss and who's in control. So also keep that in mind as we break it down to understand the situation that we're in with this political correctness. Now the interesting thing about bullies, if you can imagine, is that they want to establish this perception of imbalanced power because they're insecure, they feel inferior, might feel stupid, and maybe they are. They might be inadequate, feelings of inadequate. And so in my book I talk a little about that, confronting the bully right in here, because what's going on in here plays out often as we bully ourselves, and we tend to bully others because we feel inadequate. We don't have a right perception. A bully belittles others to make himself feel more important and to feel more in control of the situation and to feel this false sense of worth. By putting down others, that degradation makes him or her feeling as superior, kind of like an elitist. Well, I have another friend that found, his name's Bill Whittle. You know that name? Yes. He's a very amazingly intelligent man. Director, screenplay writer, conservative speaker. He recently did a speech in Colorado. And within the speech, he talked about youth and how the narrative to the youth is now given, and you've probably heard this, that everyone is special. Did you know that? Everyone is special. Okay, got that? We're going to give trophies to you all because we don't want you to feel bad by yourself. And everybody gets a blue ribbon. And what happens is that if everyone is special, then no one is special. Right? Not to mention it takes away motivation to excel and things like that. So if no one is special, that breeds, guess what? Inferiority. and the potential to bully. So you have this ingrained feeling of, I've got to prove myself, so I'll put down others. And I thought, what a sad situation that our youth is being exposed to. But we can turn that around, can't we? So we've got some, oh, in fact, did you hear about this? That responded to some bullying at 9/11. I love this story. And of course it wasn't on CNN. And I don't think it was even on Fox until late at night. But on 9/11, there was a group that was going to take over the main mall. Did you hear about this? And a group of bikers were so incensed by the thought of doing that they rounded up 2 million bikers across the country, revved up their motors and just went right through, right into Washington, went through the main things. And yeah, they weren't granted a permit like the other people were permitted, ironically. But these are the people that said, well, let me read how they put it. Because it wasn't in the main news, it was in the internet and things like that, and they phrased it this way. And what? DC powers, what are they afraid of most? A large group of Americans taking over the messaging within the country. The 2 million biker event was the #1 trending topic on social media, meaning the event was completely bypassed by traditional media, and its participants are not politically correct zombies, but rather a group of people bound together by a shared love of the traditional American values. Men and women, we need to bind together. You are the ones with the convictions. You are the ones that have wisdom. You are the ones that have the moral fiber to move this country back to where it was. Let me give a little illustration. Do you know about hot water? Hot water at 211 degrees is just hot water. But you move it up 1 degree and what happens? Yes, at 212 degrees, the water begins to boil. Raising the temperature of water by just 1 extra degree means the difference between the simplicity of having hot water and something that can generate enough force to power a locomotive. So men and women, are you in hot water? Yes. But are you at your boiling point? Have you had enough? Are you going to stand up to this PC bully? Are you going to stand firm and say, I will not apologize for talking about marriage that is traditional. I will not apologize for having the conviction of doing what is right, supporting our soldiers abroad. In fact, maybe not even taking them abroad. Let's bring them back home and keep them safe here. Who wants to send them to Syria? No. So my challenge to you today is to keep the microphone on. Is to look at your life and see, are you at that boiling point? Because we want to, as women and men, stand up against this PC bully and fight for what is right and move on and be motivated in a positive forward motion like that locomotive to accomplish what is good. Are you with me?
Yeah.
What I'd like to end with my talk on the book is go out and impact your world. And I want you to encourage you to do that with the secrets of these powerful communication. You make it happen, women. Thank you. Thank you very much.